Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Interviewing the Legends. I'm your host, Ray Shasho. Hailed as the new face of American Prog, Nashville-based rock band Evership blends progressive rock composition with classic rock production to deliver a powerful and approachable 70s style sound. Lauded by Prog magazine as glorious retro prog confections, fans of Zeppelin, Kansas, Styx, Genesis, yes, King Crimson, and Rush will have a familiar yet unique experience. Their solid and impactful eponymous release in 2016 was one of the most and best received modern rock debuts, according to many prominent prog outlets. The sophomore effort, Evership II, in 2018, with the award-winning The Serious Rune, catapulted them to the forefront of the prog rock world and to mainstage festivals such as RosFest and Progstock. The release of the Uncrowned King Act 1, released in 2021, an ambitious rock opera, made scores of best of 2021 list of progressive rock song of the year with weight. Their most recent release, the Uncrowned King Act 2, concludes the epic adaptation of Harold Bell Wright's 1910 allegory of life and truth. The album exudes Evership's immersive neo-prog style with a focus on songwriting and storytelling, but with no shortage of satisfying the instrumental performances. The songs are more introspective as we go first person with the twin princess and their personal journeys. The elevated vocals of Beau West bring the passion of the story to life. Please welcome composer, multi-instrumentalist, producer, engineer Shane Atkinson, and lead singer Beau West of American progressive rock group Evership to Interviewing the Legends. Hey, guys.
Hey, Ray.
Hey, Ray.
I had another prog band from Tennessee on not too long ago. Do you guys know who that is?
Well,
Neil Morris.
It could be Neil Morris.
Glass Hammer.
Glass Hammer from Chattanooga. Yes, that was gonna be my next one. Yeah.
Steve Babb and
Steve
Hannah
Babb,
Pryor
yep.
were on the show. They're
Yep.
very cool. And I also
Steve.
had District 97 from Chicago on the show recently. So, I'm really happy there's a lot more American prog bands,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It used to be you only thought about, I don't know, King's X or Kansas, and bands like that. But, I'm really happy about that.
Cool.
I want to talk about, first of all, your most recent release. And I loved it. It's based on Harold Bell Wright, who was, I'm going to read a little bit about this guy. This guy sold 1 million copies. He was the first American writer to sell 1 million copies of the novel, and he was the first to make $1 million from writing fiction between 1902 and 1942. Wright wrote 19 books, several stage plays, and listen to this, guys, more than 15 movies were made or claimed to be made from Wright's stories, including Gary Cooper's first major movie. Also, I think there was a John Wayne movie that was involved from him as well.
Yep.
So the guy was incredible, man. He really was. My questions to you is, how the heck did you find this book in the first place?
Right. And yet, I was just going to tag on to what you said. This guy was very prolific in his day. And yet, who's Harold Bell Wright?
Exactly.
Right? If I said Mark Twain, you would know who I'm talking about.
Exactly.
And they were contemporaries, So my computer's freaking out here. Hold on. Who's Harold Bell Wright? So one of the reasons that I pursued this story, that Beau and I pursued the story, and not only because it's a cool story, but just to kind of pull Harold Bell Wright back from the grave, from history. I mean, who knows how, the intelligentsia, how some writers are more famous than other writers,
right.
I mean, who knows what sticks and what doesn't. But I just thought, man, this guy's got so much. He has contributed so much to that early American literature, and I'm a bit of a literature nerd, so he contributed so much, and yet you almost never hear anything about him. I mean, he wrote a lot of westerns because he lived out west, so that was a lot of his early Americana.
He was a romance novelist also, right?
Yeah, he actually wrote a proto science fiction story too. A lot of people don't. Yeah. So this is before Asimov, before a lot of these guys that we would know by name. So he was an interesting guy.
Yeah, but we all go out looking for books, but how did you decide, to find this story? Because it's rare, because it's an old book.
Yes. Yeah, it's an old book. It's a story that I had heard a long time ago about. Like I said, I'm a literature nerd. About 10 years ago,
right?
I was actually a friend of mine from church back in 15 years ago, 20 years ago. He said, "Man, you need to read The Uncrowned King."
Okay.
And I think you would dig it. And I thought, okay, is this like a C.S. Lewis thing, or is this one of these type of deals? But it ended up being this really cool allegory, and it was, what I liked about it was it was very abstract. So you could actually take it multiple ways. He wasn't very clear on on exactly what he was trying to say. So that's what made it interesting to me. And I know that he had kind of a preacher's background and whatever, and then he got out of that field and started writing books. And you can read about it. Honestly, the most information all of us has is Wikipedia. So
yeah,
it's anybody's.
It's true.
Although we got a shout out from the Harold Bell Wright Museum.
Oh, cool.
Out in Arizona. Yeah, they paint. Yeah, was that, Beau?
Is it Missouri or Arizona?
Is it in Missouri? Is it in Missouri? The museum?
I thought isn't his daughter or somebody still alive or started it? Something like that.
Yeah. He has family that are still alive, but I don't know if they're in Missouri or.
I can't remember.
Where's Branson?
Yeah, Missouri.
Yeah,
Missouri. Yeah.
I did see Branson in there under his bio or whatever.
Because they had a play. Yeah, one of his most popular stories, they had a running play in Branson. So
very cool, man.
Really fascinating. Just kind of, he's all over the place. So I thought this would be really cool to pull forward.
This is happening a lot in Prague. Stories are becoming, rock operas. It's really cool. I had Ariane Lucassen, and he does that a lot. He does a lot of really creative stuff like that. I think it's really cool. I'm glad you guys did this. I just want to talk the book itself. Here's a little bit about the story from the book. The Uncrowned King is an allegorical tale that follows a weary pilgrim as he journeys through the vast and pathless desert of facts. Tormented by the heat and solitude he walks, he is lured by enchanting scenes that are mere pictures in the heated air and haunted by fearful shapes that are only creatures of his overwrought fancy. He reaches the outer edge of things. He is welcomed by a wondrously beautiful place where he finds the Temple of Truth, fashioned in sheerest white, with its lofty dome, towering spires, and piercing minarets. The pilgrim discovers the secrets and wisdom of the universe in the fairy tale-like story that will captivate your imagination. Now, was this guy on anything when he was writing this?
You wonder.
Exactly. It's a cool story. It really is.
Yeah.
But I mean, putting a story like this and creating lyrics and composing it, man, how long did it take you to do this?
It's a lot of work. So I've read the story. It's you can find it on Gutenberg Press online. It's okay. You can find it for free. I actually own like 5 first editions.
Really? Whoa.
I do. I don't know why. I saw them and I thought I need to get these and make sure that they're safe, just because I put so much time into writing an album about them, right?
Sure.
So as a matter of fact, some of the album artwork they're actually photographs of one of the rare first editions. It was actually deteriorating. It has kind of a pleather. It had a pleather publishing binder. The other ones did. The other ones kind of have a fabric binder that were real popular at the time. But this one was kind of puffy and but it was starting to rot. So I kept some of that in there, just gave this really cool, I was like, this is an old book and I'm photographing it as an old book, or the guy who did the artwork. But it took So I had read the story over, like I said, over the course of about 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been was always churning with everything else in my head. It was always churning in the background. Like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to pull it off? Am I going to be true to the book? I couldn't allegorize it out anymore because it already was an allegory.
Right.
So I could either go forward into it and like make it something actual. Let's say like Disney got a hold of it.
Yep.
And tried to write it as did a Disney cartoon about the story. They would have to fill in some blanks to make the story linear. And then you'd have to delve into some of the personalities. You have to go into the brothers. You have to think, why would they act this way? That detail is not in the book. The book is very abstract. So it took me some time to kind of, okay, if this was really happening, if this was a dramatization, someone made a movie of, not just Disney, but how would I go into this and tell this story?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the approach that I took. And so I would say, it's hard to say how long it took me because it was something that just kind of cooked and cooked and cooked for a decade plus. When I sat down to write it, probably 2 years.
2 years. That's not bad. Really, you think about it.
Long answer, but yeah. But everything was kind of staged. I had gazillion notes. I had done.
Yeah.
I'd asked other people that had literary degrees, friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of this? What if I go at it this way? What do you think about that? What do you think if I go at it this way?
Yeah. So you guys are done. You're done with this concept now, right? You have a 1 and 2. What's next? What's the next album going to be about?
Well, I can't tell you yet, but it's another book.
It's another book. Okay.
It's another book because, like I said, 15 years is a long time. You read other things. Another book. Cool. This one's a little bit earlier. It's a Victorian book, but it's really
whoa.
It's really interesting. He's a theologian mathematician.
Right.
That's a hint.
Okay.
He's one of the first writers to talk about multiple dimensions.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, even back then, you don't think about that, but even back then, yeah, they were talking about it. So
very cool.
It's not as rare a story as this. As a matter of fact, when I make the announcement, you will actually find tons of material on it, but no one's done a rock opera on it. So I think it deserves one, and that's what we're going to do.
Very cool. He's an interesting guy too. What was his name? Case. He was really into a lot of that stuff, the different dimensions, and I forgot his name. Something Case. I know he was a writer and he did a lot of other stuff as well. But
yeah, it rings a bell.
Yeah. Very cool, man. And I'm looking for, when do you think that'll be completed? Any idea?
Well, we're let's see. Demos are done. First stage of demos are done. My brother James, plays lead guitar on all the albums, and he's actually moving out of the country. He's moving to Italy.
Really?
Yeah. So I had to like, he's leaving like in 14 days now.
Wow.
So over the last 3 or 4 months, it was weird. I had to the songs were written, but I had to get enough down so I could have him come in and do his leads.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's not even real instruments on it. It's just me and my computer. It's how I do demos. I just do it all on the computer first, and then I go, and the second pass, we bring in the real guys and we do the real thing.
Right.
But James wasn't going to be here, so I had him come in. Over these last, I want to say, 3 months, I've been like chugging down to Atlanta, which is where he lived, and then down here, and then he was up here for a week with his wife, and we finished him up. So I'm trying to answer your question. It's complicated, but I don't know, not next year, maybe the year after.
Okay.
2025.
Now, have you guys toured with those two albums on stage, or?
We've played a broke down set, which is just me and Shane at ProgStock.
Right.
We sang a song with Michael Sadler in that.
Yep, I know Michael.
Yeah, and that was great. But we haven't really. We're coming off the tail of all the hoopla, lockdowns and everything coming out of COVID. Was kind of it's a little difficult. And honestly, we released right in the middle. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shane. The first one released, it's been such a blur for a while. The first one released right smack dab in the middle, so we didn't really have any movement on that whatsoever. Like we couldn't do anything on that. I think we
Right.
were supposed to do Progstock the year it got canceled, and then coming out of that year when this album was, when number 2 was done, it just got to the point where it was like we were coming out of still all that. Some people were still under semi regulation, and so it was very difficult to try to it's crazy how it's changed so dramatically. It was just trying to get stuff booked and in advance and everything. People were just like being very timid still, so it was like we couldn't really, and we haven't, not that we haven't been established, but it wasn't like we were established with any kind of booking entities or anything. We could just like turn a key and go for it. So it was very difficult. It was just difficult getting even small venues to agree to something. So we were just like, this seems, both me and Shane were like, are we going to beat our heads against this? And then, we get the hired guns, and when we hit the stage, we're on there with like, there's 5 of us and 6 of us, and we all have to commit. And we all have our Bruce Wayne jobs. We can't always be the Batman.
I know.
Batman, do our Batman job. So
that's true.
It's like no, I wish I was Bruce Wayne. Then we could do Batman all the time. Anyway, that was not a good analogy. Anyway, it's just hard. It was really difficult booking. So to answer your question again in a long form, it's no, we haven't been able to tour on that one. And we'd love to start booking shows now, but me and Shane are going at it kind of in a different way. It's like we're kind of letting them become organic again and letting it kind of take off again. And it seems to be the best way for us not to get in a hurry. I find that when me and him get in a hurry, things get missed, things get, there's no reason to. So, yeah.
The good thing, you don't have a record company breathing down your neck like in the old days. You can do what you want. That's the good thing about today.
Yeah, it is.
You have full control, basically.
Yeah.
I love prog rock. I interview a lot of great prog rock rock artists from all over the world. Norway, Germany, you name it, all over the world, man. I've talked to, Big Train, and I got Frank Carducci coming up, and who else I got a lot of people coming up. I got Chris Braid coming up from Downs Braid. The problem with prog, it's the best. I mean, you got the most proficient artist. It's great music. It's real music.
Right.
Very intelligent, very intricate. But sometimes, it's not as popular as what's on the radio, which the radio sucks anyway. And it is hard to get gigs. And especially, you guys are lucky because you're here in this country, but the guys overseas, they can't afford to come over here.
Right.
And they can't find gigs, and the only thing that's available, like you said, is Progstock, RosFest, and Cruise to the Edge. That's basically it.
Yeah, because Near Fest is gone. What were some of the other? You still have Power Prog, which is a metal festival down in Atlanta.
Right.
If you're a metal prog band, that's fine. But I mean, and there are plenty of those.
There are a lot of them. Yeah.
That's not for everybody.
And that was the tough part for us too, is when we first got into this in 2016, I mean, people were, I finally had to tell Shane, hey, negative, any press is good press, because people were arguing what kind of prog we were. People were like, oh, those guys aren't really prog. And we're like, okay, we're not, we weren't necessarily trying to be, we didn't accidentally fall into the genre. But we kind of were like, hey, we kind of fit in this, because people were like, well, you guys are more like Pink Floyd and like this and like that. And we're like, okay, but I mean, you say Kansas is one of your favorite prog bands, and then you say we're like Kansas. I don't understand where you're coming from. Doesn't make any sense. But what was great is all these people arguing online about it put us more and more in the spotlight. So I was like, hey, just let it go on. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think what's hard too is you know, the pandemic and everything really put a staunch stop on music in particular.
Yeah.
And it's kind of trickling down again, meaning, you know, country's back full steam. All the kind of the B-rate artists are full steam that I know around town. Everybody's kind of back to work. And so prog kind of unfortunately gets kind of the last, you know, hit to move forward. And, you know, guys that work really hard, like, you know, District 97, they're constantly doing stuff. I mean, Leslie is constantly doing things.
Yeah.
And so is, yeah. I mean, they're
most of their stuff, but yeah.
Right. And they are just doing everything they can. It's tough for me and Shane to kind of have that, like, hey, let's jump in a van and live that way. I mean, my other job is a contractor. It's like I have to kind of pick and choose.
Yeah.
So and then Shane has his job, and then the guys we all play with have theirs. If it made sense, it'd be great, but it's just like, and we've talked about, you know, doing one-off dates, but what was really hard too is getting caught, kind of us in particular. We took off like a bang. Well, we didn't realize, and Shane, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I felt like there was like this weird, it's like the algorithm said, hey, you guys are no longer cool. and kind of Facebook and Instagram kind of took this weird dip all of a sudden, and like everything kind of took this weird, and then we learned that we were in the wrong lane and we didn't even know. And so it really sucks how social media and everything plays into it now too. You can't just be a band that people discover and then people are like, this is great, and then you go tour on an album and stuff like that. It kind of is like backwards. So we're kind of focusing, I feel like we've been more focused on like an online presence, and that is a slow build for us.
Right.
And now that we're getting it figured out, what's nice is we've got all these fans, and then we're building now even into new fans, and we're 7 years down the road. Things are now, I feel like there's been an uptick in listens, in requests, well, even in like interviews, like with you and other people. It's been this pretty good uptick, and I think that's going to force us to have to play, which was great. I love when it turns out like that. So
here's how I found you guys, just so you know, this might help you. Maro.com from France.
Really?
Okay, I mean, they've got a great selection of progressive rock music, and they play a lot of the new albums that come out, and I get a lot of my interviews from them. I admit it. I've been trying to partner with them somehow. They won't get back to me. I even translated into French.
Right.
It didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, we have Cosmos. Cosmos is a distributor for us. For
okay.
So that's probably how you got it.
Right. I found. I'll be honest with you. My favorite album is Evership II, and I heard the Wanderer on Maro.com, and that blew me away, and that's what got me started on you guys.
Yeah,
you know that in Shades, what's it? Shades 3, My Father's Friend 4. Oh, yeah, those tracks, man. That album blew me away. I love that album, by the way.
It's a great. See, Shane.
I know.
He's so hard on himself.
You'll see me go like this because I'm like,
that's a great album.
He's so hard on him. He's so hard on himself about production value. It's like he's judge, jury, and executioner for himself, like most of us are anyway.
I know. That's true. But most musicians are that way.
Yeah, but two is there's certain songs on there that I love to sing, like Wanderer, like and then the whole epic at the end. You know, I love that whole.
You're incredible on that album.
It's one of my favorite to do. That epic is one of my favorite to kind of, we break it down a little bit more into kind of parts, and that way we can kind of steal parts out of it as songs in their own right, and it's super fun to do, and it's great. We love playing. I mean, the band loves playing. You know, golly, Hall of Visions.
To me, Wander is a hit. That's a hit. Okay, I was a top 40 DJ back in the late 70s, so I know what a hit is. But what the serious room. Oh man, that what a beat on that. You know,
Yeah.
it's an eclectic album, and Shades. That sounds, you know, you kind of sound like Robert Plant a little bit in Zeppelin in that tune.
Oh yeah. He
I love
summoned
it.
his inner Robert Plant. Yeah.
Yeah. And Beau, you're a great singer, by the way, man. I gotta mention that.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So I
Shane
just want to
makes
throw that album out there because I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad. Thank
Not
you.
that I don't like the Uncrowned King Act 1 and 2. I
That's
do
right.
like it a lot, and I want to talk about it.
Well, there's a lot of variety in all of that. I mean,
Yes.
one and two are kind of a set. Obviously, the Uncrowned King's a set.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of different stuff to choose from. It's not.
There is.
There's moments of metal in it. There's moments of just kind of classic rock.
Yep.
There's even some soft rock in there. I mean, it's kind of, and there's some straight up timey progressive stuff, you know.
The my favorites are the Law of Ages, you know, and I like the violins, very cool electric guitar. Coronation's awesome. That's a great tune. That's probably the favorite of mine.
We actually, sorry to interrupt, but we actually did Law of Ages with Joe, is it Dennison? Who is now playing with Kansas. He's playing with he's getting ready to be their violin player.
Yeah, I know him.
On the road. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So he played the acoustic set with us. He did the guitar solo he did the guitar solo on Law of Ages at Progstock, and it was amazing. So it was he's great. Great guy.
That video's on YouTube too. You can watch that, right?
Okay. Yeah, he was in Stratofurious.
Stratofurious,
right? Violin player.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man. I had him on the show a couple of times.
Great.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
You know, this tune here sounds like a Disney tune. The Voice of the New Day. Reminds me of Disney. You were talking about Disney earlier.
Yeah.
Which
that's Michael's song. Yeah, Michael Sadler sang that one. Yeah, we did that one live. We did that full band last Progstock, and the guys we had backing us were some of the guys from Spock's Beard. I'm trying to think of.
They're
pattern-seeking animals.
Pattern-seeking animals. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The new thing is pattern-seeking animals. So it's So they were great. We really
they're awesome.
And there's some little bits of that too on YouTube.
Fading Away reminded me a little bit of Styx for some reason.
Okay. Yeah.
It's an excellent album. It's got, like you said, it's got something for everyone. And the first one was just as good. You know, you guys are a great band. You're
Thanks,
very sophisticated.
Thank you.
Which is cool, as you do everything. I mean, you produce and engineer, right? You do all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I don't want to cause any trouble here, guys.
You're not.
I want to keep the band together.
when Shane gets into that mode, I mean, out of album 1, I was like, Shane, what is wrong? And he's like, I just can't hear anymore. I don't know which end's up. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know if the lows are too low, the highs are. I don't know. He's like on the verge of tears. I'm like, Shane, you got to stop, dude. It's too much, you know.
Right. But it's got to be a point where you got to stop.
But I will say that the recording process for both of us has gotten to be so enjoyable. We just like turning out albums now. It's super fun. Like I get to his house is up by this lake, and we go up there, and we got snowed in last time, and we finished almost all the vocals for Tail Part 2 in like what, Shane, 2.5 days?
Right. Because
we finished the album, and we finished off about 2 bottles of whiskey. I'm just kidding. It was great. We had to stay warm, you know. It was snowing.
Yeah. You keep that up, you're going to start playing the blues.
Yeah, exactly.
That's next.
Yeah, there's a little bit of blues in there. You know, my brother is very blues rock influenced. He's like kind of Jimmy Page meets.
Very cool.
Brian May meets, you know, and all those guys were influenced by the blues players.
You know, they mention you guys, they're comparing you guys. You know, if they want to compare you guys with somebody, you can even include Queen, because you know, that kind of I don't know.
Vocals,
Yeah, the vocals, the operatic thing, and
Yeah.
it is. It's like kind of that way. Yeah, you guys are great. You really are. I really enjoyed the band. I hope you guys, I'd love to see you tour more.
Yeah.
Obviously,
The thing about touring is we would need proper backing. The great thing about not having a label is that you have complete freedom.
right?
The bad part is it's all out of your pocket. So it makes it very difficult to do. Like the way I go nonstop, and I spend all my money on the albums. So I spend no holds barred. I do. I'm a bit of a purist, and that can be a problem sometimes. But
Oh my,
I use choral samples. I use live choruses,
right?
live choirs. I use live strings when I can, which is most of the time. I'm a Mellotron fan, so there's plenty of that on there.
Yeah,
But yeah, I try not to cheat, and that's expensive. It's expensive.
it is.
To make albums like that anymore. People don't make them like that because it's expensive.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at
Yeah.
all.
But it gives us sound. It gives us that kind of oldish,
Sure.
70s sound. Yeah.
Yeah. The mixes, the engineering, it's very clear. You do a great job.
Thanks.
I cover Ringo's All-Star Band. I used to cover Hippie Fest. I used to cover the Happy Together tours.
Cool.
That would be cool to put a prog thing like that and tour the States. I mean, have 4 or 5 different prog bands together.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
And tour,
Well,
Neil Morris would be one of them, of course. You guys.
I've thought about that. I don't know if you've heard of this project called Project.
I think I saw it on the internet or something somewhere.
Project. Yeah. These guys are going around. They're all guys from various prog bands.
Right.
Some of them very notable, and they're basically touring playing prog covers, which is interesting to me.
That is interesting.
But dude, they're doing some decent audiences, and they've done it worldwide. They've been in Europe. They've been here. I know because Michael Sadler was frontman with them for about a year and a half.
Huh.
And so that's something. This is what's interesting to me about that. I'm thinking to myself, where are these guys playing? What's the route? Who is taking in prog bands and letting them play in their places? Because if they're doing a tour, then that means that they're finding venues who will let prog bands in. And I'm like, what if we could take that route and put some bands, just like you're saying, I had this exact same thought.
Right.
Get some bands together and kind of pool our resources and do it that way.
Yeah.
Just to open up, bands that are kind of on our, in our relative level, and go and kind of promote awareness,
The way they save money though, like in Hippie Fest and some of the other guys, they have like a house band for every group.
Okay.
And then the main guys come out. For instance, Savoy Brown, when they were doing Hippie Fest, you'd have Kim Simmons, but the rest was the house band.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how they would save money, I guess. It was
Got
the same house band for all the bands. So I don't know how that would work. But Ringo's All-Star Band, they got they play all these great songs with one guy from each of the bands. So that might be an idea.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And our band is fluid because Evership really is just Beau and I.
Mm-hmm.
But over the years we've developed some guys that have just kind of committed and they've kind of regularly played with us. But I think I'm gonna restate a little bit, Beau, what you were talking about. Is that simply that COVID was good for us in that we produced these 2 albums because nothing else was going on. So I was just able to hunker down, finally get this thing formulated, get it out there, do all the album artwork, all the stuff that it takes to get a record out. I get 2 records out. But the bad thing it had is, kind of our live presence, all the momentum we had built up with Evership 1 and 2, it just kind of all that died. And so we kind of as Beau was saying, we kind of had to make a choice when things started ramping up. Do we want to put all this time, money, and effort into trying to get out and get a road show going again, or do we want to make some more music?
Right.
And so, and you have to make a decision, because what a lot of people don't understand is that live is a completely different thing. It's not is the
Sure.
record. It's like
Yeah.
being two different businesses.
Yeah.
And it's very expensive, and it can be risky financially, and obviously even just time-wise, it just takes so much time. So so we said, well, what, like Beau was saying, how do we start this? Well, we started with the music. Let's get more music out. Let's work on our online presence. Let's get more awareness. And then if there's enough awareness, then people will say, hey, you guys need to play. They'll pull us. And that's what happened on 1 and 2. People heard about it, say, hey, come play at RosFest. As opposed to us going, okay, it's album number 3. Now we need to tour it. Let's push out there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's the opposite direction. And so we think this is the right way to turn the ship. So
the good thing about Prog, you guys are a very tight-knit family. Prog has always been that. There's been a family.
yes.
The thing that amazes me, and there's guys like Neil Morris, Portnoy, those guys like that. They belong to 3 and 4 different bands. That's how they exist nowadays.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to me.
Yeah.
Transatlantic, and I mean, it's amazing.
I think that's how they do it. I think that's how they keep it going, though, to be honest, because I think they keep it fresh that way, so they can just turn out all the music simultaneously and quickly, and they can actually. I remember speaking with Neil right before. What was his epic? That kind of the Pilgrim's Progress epic one. Me and him were hanging out here in Nashville. I have a mutual friend with him that helps manage his stuff. And me and him hung out for a while, and I was helping doing some stuff at his church too, playing and singing. And he had told me, if you stay, one of his best runs in music was after he was quote unquote retiring. So when he moved to Nashville, he was just like involved in so much music so fast.
Right.
And I think he was 50 at the time. So he just was like, me and Shane were like, we were going to shows. We saw him going, like, he was just tour, play. And it was like a Spock's Beard thing, a thing over here, the Neil Morris band, then back over to Transatlantic. It was like, it was crazy. And so, I think I guess the problem with us is we were just gaining steam like that during, like Shane was saying, during COVID. We were just gaining steam to where we were getting these invites and things were kind of looking up. And then all of a sudden it was like just slammed closed. And so we couldn't even think about it because there was no way to get the music out. So now that it's opened back up and we're thinking down those lines, I think the opportunities really will present themselves as we get the music out. That's what's happened almost every single time. So I can't deny the fact that when we put out an album, I feel like then people go, so the devil's advocate would say, people go, oh, you guys are still around, which is not the funnest thing to hear. But at the same time, at least people are like, I love their last 4 albums are amazing. Now we'll dive into this. And you can kind of reinvent yourself every single time. It's kind of a luxury and a curse at the same time. So it's really, but me and Shane love doing albums. So I'm like, why don't we just stick with what we love and keep doing that? And the rest will fall into place, hopefully. But we'll see. I'm pretty confident we'll get more shows as things progress. I don't. It's not like we're not getting offers to go play like Progstock or certain things. And we've had some controversy surrounding, I don't want to say this too much, but there's been controversy surrounding the boat, Cruise to the Edge. So it's been like this, not like drama, but it's like, how do we get on there? How do we do this? How do we do that? And so it's like, we love all the people that surround that team and that group. And, but how does a band like Evership get on there? Like what, and also we just need people to be honest with us. If we do a live show and people are like, your live show's just not good enough, you need to be better. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We'll do it. But don't just him and haw and be like,
Right.
well, maybe, you know, it's like, just tell us, like, you guys suck right now as a live band. Do this. Like, okay, we'll work harder.
I've seen you.
So,
I've seen you live on YouTube.
Yeah.
You guys are great.
thank you.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
guys are really good, man.
Yeah,
think-
it's super fun, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are still young, though. I mean, I just talked to, you know, the band Pendragon. Have you heard of
Yeah.
Pendragon?
Sure.
Nick Barrett. I just had Nick Barrett
Yep.
on yesterday. Those guys have been around 40 years, man.
I know.
You know,
Well,
and they're still not, you know, well known here at all, really. You know,
Yeah.
they got their certain following, but it's
Yeah.
been a tough road, you know.
Yeah.
Luckily, the guy surfs a lot. He loves to surf,
Right.
you know.
Right.
you know, real early on, Ray, when we got invited to RosFest, there was another band on there, and I'm not going to say the name out of respect, but he was like, "I hate you guys." I said, "Why?" He said it jokingly. I said, "Hey guys, said, why?" He said, "Because it took me 15 years to get here.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
guys got here in 3 months."
Yeah, you got to look at all the positive things that have happened to you guys. You know,
Oh yeah.
I think if you team up with a, you know, like a pretty major act,
Yeah.
you know, that would be your ticket to, you know, a
Yeah.
good tour.
Yeah.
Marillion, you know, even Big
Yeah.
Big Train is really popular right now. Neil
Sure.
Morris, you know,
Yep.
any one of
Yeah.
those guys, I think.
Well, we've also talked with, we've been in discussions with Neil, Shane and
Mhm.
Shane and
Mhm.
Michelle have,
Good.
and
It-
we tried to facilitate that and make it, because Kevin, one of his best friends, is always a huge fan. I played in his coffee shop downtown Nashville when I was 25 trying to be a rock star.
Right.
And he's like, and now with that, he's with Neil, he's tried. It's tough because Neil has out and out said, he's like, how do I have an opener for a prog act? You can't have a prog band opening for a prog. The show will
Yeah.
probably
It'd be a 4-hour
7 hours
show.
long. So,
That's
half a
that's
day.
true. That's
so
true.
it's hard to, that was difficult, but he's also said, you know, he's also kept me involved. I mean, I sang on one of his videos. I helped it. Like, he's been really gracious and awesome through emails and support, and he loves us. But it's also kind of a world that, like, he's established in it. And I feel like Evership is just, we are still a very, very young band compared to
Sure.
any of the other bands almost. It's like when we come out, people, even the bands that are younger, like Kairos, they've been around for a pretty long time. And
right.
Leslie, who, me and Leslie are the same age, we're
Mhm.
about the same age. I think she just turned 40 and
Mhm.
I'm 40 something. What am I? 44. So we're both considered like they call us kids when we're
Right.
there. You know,
Right.
it's like the kids sections, Leslie and Beau are at the kids table, you know, that's us. So and then bands from overseas that have come over. What was that group that came over that one time at Progstock? Shane,
The guys from
Latin America,
yeah,
or
yeah,
what
yeah,
was it? Was it Spain?
Isles.
Straight
Isles.
Isles, yeah.
Oh,
They
Isles.
were-
Yeah, they're around. Yeah.
They were fantastic, but
they're
those
good.
guys were
That
like,
was a great show.
yeah, those guys were like 25 to 30.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and so we're looking at it, and I kind of am serious. I'm always hopeful because, like I said, when and nothing, you know, Neil Morris, when he was 25, he was on main stages and doing everything, and he kind of made it over that hump to kind of solidify that legendary mode. Us, we started in 2016, which is a totally different vehicle. So I really try to help, me and Shane try to help each other not focus on like the negative, like, oh, we're not touring, we're never gonna, we're kind of like, you know what, we made it in our own right, now let's just let it play out the way it needs to play out. And then
Sure.
all of a sudden we might find ourselves, I think you're absolutely right,
Mhm.
in the fact that it goes, all of a sudden it just goes, we get one show. And a friend of mine, he's in Christian music here in Nashville, and he's the CEO of a big label. And he said, "Beau, we love your stuff." And I said, "Yeah, that's great that everybody loves it. What do we do from there?"
What's next?
And yeah, exactly. And he goes, "Dude," he goes, "you know how this works." He
Yeah.
goes, and he's the same age as me. He goes, "You know how this works. You'll be at a party, you'll be talking to someone, and then you guys will be opening for Kansas or something.
Yeah.
That's how it works, you know." And
That's right.
I said, "Yeah," and so I never look at it as a situation, and that's kind of the Nashville story, the LA story, the New York
Yeah,
story,
yeah.
all that stuff. You know, it's like someone hears us. I mean, we've been so close in so many pockets. A friend of mine knows Johnny Depp's band and does a bunch of stuff with him. And
The guy I moved to Nashville with plays with
yeah,
Alan Parsons.
right.
Who's
We know
in
Neil. We know like it's crazy the amount of names. I mean, we opened for, or we had a show with Leslie in District 97 here in Nashville.
Yeah,
and
played with them in
yeah,
2017.
yeah. So it's like we're always one step away, but I also never want to force us. I'm glad we didn't shoot right out of the gate, Shane, too, because we had a lot of stuff to work on, and I feel like our stage show has come miles from what it was. So
yeah, because we were a studio band, not a live band. So you have to. That's another, like I said, it's another deal. And look, my background, Ray, is I mean, I played music professionally for about a decade, and then I went away from music and I came back.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So reincarnated as a keyboard player.
Yeah.
I was a drummer back then. So
you're in computers and stuff too, right?
Yeah, I was in computers. I still am. So playing live keyboards for me, it's a new deal. It's not something that's natural for me. I have to really work on it.
Yeah, and you're good at it though.
It's not easy to play for any keyboard player anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we've worked on our show a lot, but really it comes down to like Beau said, we want the pull. We're going to keep putting out the music that we can, as best we can, and let's just let the people draw.
I would imagine you guys would be very popular in Europe because the people out there they're big step ahead of us when it comes to music. They really are. They still hold it very dear to them. The old music, prog music, blues. You guys play Europe?
Most of our streams are European.
Okay.
And we're really big in the Netherlands.
Yeah, exactly. Germany, France.
Yeah, Italy, France. Well, we have my wife's going to say, Shane, we have multiple distributors. We have a distributor in almost every European country. Here in the United States, we have like one or two. And I'm not saying that's a negative. We love our distributors here, but I'm just saying that just goes to show you, we're very much in the circulation in Europe. And here we're in circulation with most of the prog stations, I would say, but some of them haven't included us yet for some reason. We don't know, but that's up to them. But I think about bands, and like Beau was saying again, I think about bands like Styx, and Kansas has their own story, but in particular Styx, I remember hearing Dennis talk about Styx and how they broke and stuff. Dude, they had it was like their 8th album that something happened. Can you imagine going for that long? I mean, we're starting on album 5, and I'm a little tired, honestly. But we're still chugging. But man, 5, I'm thinking, and then you think 3 more after that, and then something happened. It's a long game. It's a long game, and as you said, Ray, earlier, this isn't pop music; it's prog. The listenership is very small, and I would argue, I don't have the numbers on this, but the saturation in the market is very large. So I would say for the genre to volume ratio is really out of whack. I was talking to a radio guy in North Carolina, blanking on his name. Sorry. I think it's Peter. I may be wrong. But we were having dinner, and he said something crazy, and I'm terrible with numbers like this, but he said something like, there are like 1,200 prog releases every year. Yeah. I mean, just think about that. That may be true of like rap.
Yeah.
But really no other genre has that kind of volume coming at every single, you literally couldn't listen to every album that comes on the market. You couldn't do it. This is not enough days in the year. So you wonder how, I mean, I'm always amazed at how Evership ever got heard in the first place.
Well, and that's how we got heard, kind of, because Christian and what is his name? The photographer.
Oh, that's Christian Rios. He's a video guy. No,
He was assisting.
Joel Berlioz.
Yeah,
Joel Berlioz.
Joel Berlioz is the one that kind of found us.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he gets a stack of CDs, like, what is it, 140 CDs a day, something like that. And he popped us in and was like, what is this? And so he kind of, people around the office there, he was like, he'd turn it on and just kind of leave it on, and people would be like, what is this?
Right.
And he had one in, and then we finally kind of got picked up from there with certain things. So we were a little bit of a needle in a haystack. I told Shane, you know, I was prepared to just be great with a recording of my voice. So, well, I was like, hey, I'm done. I made it. This is great. And he was just like, he's like, well, do you want to release it? I'm like, yeah, why not? Send it to a few people and distribute it. We'll see what we can do, you know, and here. And then we went from there. And that, so we already got lucky with that. And again, back to, could we get lucky again with this other stuff? Yes, by all means. You know, we've also broadened our horizons into stuff like, you know, I've told Shane for years, dude, you should do video game music. It's like the number one distribution right now. With
That
stuff.
is true. Or soundtracks to movies, you know, that kind of thing.
Well, movie placement.
And I feel like we are doing, I feel like sometimes when I'm singing over a score, you know? And so it's like, it's that good. And yeah.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. And it's like, I've done some research lately with, you know, even games like my son loves to play Minecraft. That's music's amazing. And it's like, has Moog all over it. And I'm like, Shane, listen to this. I'm like, this is crazy. You know, my 8-year-old thinks this is amazing. And I'm like, this is what we, you know, this is where we need to possibly push. But also, again, how do you push that? And what do you do? So I'm just grateful that, like, we get the opportunity, and me and Shane have, you know, we've grown in this music thing so much together that now we just have a great time. When it's time to do an album, I get super excited because I'm just like, yes, we get to just hang out. And I love being in the studio. I love making music. And then people reciprocate that with, like, you and other people, other DJs, other entities. They reciprocate that, and I'm like, okay, we got to be doing something right. So let's just keep doing the right thing, and something will blossom out of it. So, and it has.
You know, one problem about with prog, it takes an intelligent listener.
It does.
You can't get some yo-yo listening to Taylor Swift listening to prog. You know what I mean? And that's it. It takes an intelligent listener.
Yeah,
it really does.
So it's only going to have so much reach.
It's like classical music, same thing. You know, not everybody's going to listen to Beethoven or Bach.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? Right.
Yeah.
You were talking about there's a lot of prog out there. I reviewed 12 albums this week.
Oh, wow.
That's all I've been doing is new albums coming out.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of music.
It is.
I enjoy it though. But I can easily separate the good ones from the bad ones, you know. And if a band sucks, I won't get them on my show. You know, I won't review the album because I'm not going to tear it apart. I'm not that kind of guy. I just won't review it. You know.
I almost thought this was the part of the show where you just start tearing Evership apart. I was like, what's going to happen now?
I haven't torn anybody apart that's on my show. Everybody's great. Everybody gets 5 stars on my show.
That's awesome. I love it.
I want to ask you though, what kind of response did you get from Evership II?
It was
I'll
fun.
let Shane answer that.
Beau?
Well, a lot of people look, so here's Evership II. So we got great response from Evership II.
Right.
Evership II was more of the same. They did great. There was no we got some negative feedback from just a couple of people, which is really funny. For me, you know, 100 people can say it's awesome, and 2 people can say, you know, it could have blah, 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 blah. And that's the only thing I will ever hear.
Me too.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, why didn't you like it? Like why? So, you know, I internalize that stuff. But the problem with Evership II really, and we shouldn't have talked about it as much as we did. So I'm going to mention it because now it's lore. You know, now it's just that it was a rush album. It was a
You
rush.
know, there's nothing wrong with the Rush album. Some of the great albums of all time are Rush. The Beatles rushed all their music.
Right. Right.
The Spectrum album was rushed with, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I mean,
In
nothing wrong with
hindsight,
that.
I know, Ray. In hindsight, I know that. But when I was in the middle of it, it was very stressful. And like I said, I don't do anything small. So it was,
But see, it caught my attention.
Yeah.
You
good.
know, Wonder, it caught my attention on Morrow.com. And that's why I'm here with you guys today.
Well, that's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
That's a beautiful
So,
story. That's a
maybe you
beautiful
need to mix it up a little bit, you know, play, you
Right.
know, some of that stuff and mix it in, you know, with the
Right.
other stuff, or
I
make
mean,
a
we
couple of
play-
albums, rush a couple of albums. I
Rush a
don't know.
couple of,
Yeah.
well, this
Yeah.
one's actually, this one's actually coming along pretty quick because my brother was leaving. And
Okay.
actually our other guitar player who plays a lot live with us and played the rhythm on a lot of this stuff,
Right.
he's also moving back to where he came from in Ohio. So things are shifting for us, and I don't want
Right.
to, unless you want to talk about it. It's neither here nor there in the sense that, you know, Evership is Beau and I, and that won't change. If there's no Beau, there's no Evership, and obviously if there's no me, there's no Evership. So the guys that work with us, we love them, and I would even say to a third degree, James is very critical to it too, because he adds that we call it brother magic, but he has, you know, him and I communicate in such a way that he knows exactly what I want, production wise from the lead guitar stuff. He just knows how to do it. But you know, the underlying band may end up changing out. We may end up having some other players.
But that always happens.
Yeah, but
especially
that's going
Prog.
to happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
it won't happen with this next one. So I'm going to get everybody in before they go. We'll have the same lineup that we had with the last 3 albums. But
Yeah.
after that, it will change, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how it changes.
I just want to mention, you mentioned Michael Sadler. He was on The Voice of the New Day,
Yeah.
which was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Michael. I love his beard.
Yeah. Michael's awesome,
I like your
man.
beard too.
Thank you.
Yeah. His whole family though too is just amazing. Like his wife and his son, and
Yeah,
like
son, yeah.
they're great to hang out with. I mean, we got to hang out with them. Unfortunately, at Progstock, they were running behind, so me and Michael spent about 2 hours backstage together. Just
Really?
like I would just ask him random questions. I was like, what was your best food at what venue? And he's like, oh, hands down. And he'd go into like an hour-long story about food and backstage. And then I was like, best band to open for or something like that. And he'd be like, oh, one time we got to open for, you know, yada, yada, yada. And I can't remember who, but he went off about like 10 bands and it was cool just to listen to him kind of geek out about, you know, legendary music and about different things. And I would just ask him random questions, and me and him had a great time. And then we had a great time. Me and Shane hung out with them most of the time at this last project. This last Progstock, and we just had, I mean, we got lost in New Jersey together. It was a blast. So it was super fun. It was a blast. So yeah, they're great people. And that's the cool thing too, is like with Tale of the Uncrowned King, like he comes in and agrees to sing on it, and then we explore this awesome relationship that we have now.
Sure.
And that's what I love about Evership too. Evership as well, is that like we keep running into great people, and we keep which lead us to other people, which lead us to other opportunities, which lead us to this. I mean,
exactly.
Rob Rutz is a huge promoter. He's great at what he does, and his love for music. I love hanging out with him when I get a chance. Marty Dorfman, he's amazing. And all those guys, and then Tom and his wife for Progstock. I mean, they're amazing, keeping it going. And so huge shouts out to all those guys that make things work.
Sure.
And for guys like you,
it's all about who you know, man.
Yeah, and that keep it going. And you found out from us, from Morrow, and that's another thing. It's like, that's what I love about it, is I feel like this word of mouth relationship with Evership is actually building concrete foundation rather than just fleeting stuff.
Right.
It's like the more and more fans we get, I feel like everybody's family at this point. Like I can't think of one person that I've done stuff with that I have been like, oh no, even the fans at like Progstock, it's fun to hang out with them. I mean,
Right.
I didn't hang out with the first 2 days backstage. First of all, I didn't know we could get backstage. I don't know why. But we were hanging out with all the fans like the first 2 days, and we were just having a blast. And then
Fine.
Michael was like, Michael and his wife were like, "Why are you guys coming backstage and eating?" And we're like, "Oh, is that an option?" They're like, "Yeah, you guys are artists, you idiot." So
Newbies, right?
Oh my
it was
gosh.
hilarious. So,
Well,
but
so what happened with Progstock this year? You didn't get in this year?
No, we got in. I told you our guitar player was leaving, right?
Right.
That pretty much was it. We
were
started
in
practicing.
rehearsals. We were in
We were in the middle
rehearsals.
of rehearsals, and he said, guys, we started booking shows
Mm-hmm.
leading up to Progstock, and he was like, guys, I guess this is a good time to tell you I'm moving.
Oh
like,
man.
oh crap.
Huh.
So that put a halt on it. So Beau and I had a the conversation. It's like, okay, do we want to replace him and just move on, or is this kind of, because he'd be hard to replace. He's played with us for 4 years, so you just don't throw another guitar player in and let's go. He's all the stuff that he does.
That is tough.
Complicated. And already we have to have what I call an aux guitar player. I hope that's not offensive to the aux guitar player, but there's so many guitars on Evership that we need at least another guitar player to carry some parts.
There's a lot of guys that I know on the new Progstock coming up. Dave Bainbridge, I know Dave.
Yeah.
He lives in Baltimore. I'm originally from Baltimore.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Joe, of course. Joe Genizon is going to be there.
Yeah.
Patrick Mraz, I know as well.
Yeah,
really good guy.
Yeah. I hung out with Patrick back at his place in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
We were down there for RosFest, and I met up with him and his wife, and he's got a little studio out there with it's actually the floor of a building, and he's got all his keyboards set up, and there is piano, and there was a re-release of one of his old piano album, his 1977 piano album. I'm trying to think of the name of it, but it was just being released, so we listened to that, and we played around, played each other, played piano and showed each other some stuff. That was a fun time. He's a great guy.
Even people like, he's awesome. And so is Rachel Flowers. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Super fun to, and she played with us this last one.
She played flute on that little flute part in Voice of the New Day.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Unitopia is going to be there. I'm going to be interviewing these guys very soon.
Great.
As well.
Yeah, great band.
Yeah. RosFest is only a few minutes from me where I live.
Oh, where are you at?
That's in Sarasota. I'm in Bradenton.
So you would know Patrick. You're right there.
Yeah.
I'm from St. Pete.
Oh, you're from St. Pete?
I'm from St. Pete. That's where I was born.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm a Florida boy.
Yeah, very cool. I've been here about 20 years or so.
Oh, geez, man. Yeah.
Originally from DC, the DC area. Yeah.
I lived near there as well.
It's changed a lot. When was the last time you've been in St. Pete?
Oh, just, last month.
Last month. Okay.
Because my mom and my younger brother are still there.
Okay.
They live in St. Pete. My brother's on the Bay, and my mom's at a
very cool. Are you a Rays fan?
Yes, I am a Rays fan.
Yeah. See, I'm in between because I'm from Baltimore originally. And now we got the Orioles and the Rays, and you're probably going to be in the playoffs, so it's going to be difficult for me.
It will be hard. You're going to be split-brained there.
I'm going to be split. Yeah. But I got a tattoo of an Oriole bird on my shoulder, so.
Okay, well, you're committed.
I'm committed. Orioles haven't been in the World Series since 1983. And that's when I got married. So.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
It's been a while, man.
That's funny.
You guys got anything else that you want to bring up? Did I miss anything?
No, I mean, other than we can tell you a little bit what's going on right now.
Yes. What's going on right now?
Yeah, so we're making another record, like Beau said. I'm actually building a new studio.
Really?
So, yeah. So
where?
Up here in Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah, I got access. So during COVID, I met a guy named Pat Holt who is married to one of the Mandrell sisters. I don't know if you know the old country star.
Yeah, Barbara Mandrell. And
Barbara. So he's married to Erlane, the cover girl, I call her. he's been a great contact because he's been in the Nashville and LA engineering circuit forever, man. He knows everybody. And he mixed a lot of those classic country albums, like the cool stuff like Waylon Jennings and
right, the
all
good
those
stuff.
guys, right? And great guy. Anyway, we've kind of become buddies. And he had an old, so there's a console maker here in Nashville called Harrison Consoles. I don't know if this is going to be a little bit techy, but just so you know, all the early 80s stuff was mixed on Harrison Consoles. All the Michael Jackson stuff. Left Overture by Kansas was mixed on one of these. Styx did some stuff on this. So he had one of these consoles, and it's a famous console. It's from Music Row.
Oh, and, wow.
It's a Harrison C32, and it's got a lot of lineage. It's Johnny Cash has recorded on it. Allman Brothers have recorded on it. Bunch of people. We're still actually doing all the research. But anyway, I bought it. He was selling it. You bought it? Yeah, because he has some other stuff.
Yeah.
So we've been refurbishing it, and it's from 1977. And so we're actually building a studio so it'll fit to put it in, because the place I had before, I was like everybody else. I was doing everything what they call doing it in the box. It was on the computer, you know. Once you record it, you know, it's on the computer. But I'm going totally old school, man. I got
yeah,
nice big old console now, and
that's
I've
cool.
got some classic monitors that came out of another big studio in LA. And so this is going to be another level of production for me personally.
Fantastic.
That I'm very excited about. And we've got a real awesome vintage console. So anyway, that's what's going on with me. I'm literally here now. I've got my buddies in there at the studio right now, hanging drywall, and we're
working on it.
We're working on the build, and then once we get that going, so I've recorded my brother's leads. I'm going to record John's parts before he goes, all the rhythm stuff. John does a lot of stuff. He's actually a classical guitarist, like a trained, degreed classical guitarist. So a lot of the stuff you're hearing classical, that's all John.
Oh, okay.
So we're doing all of his parts, and then I'll finish the studio, and then I'll do the drums and keys here live, and bass with Ben, all that live, and then we'll bring Beau in here at the end and finish it up. So
you're gonna have your own Abbey Road studios, man.
I'm gonna have my own Abbey Road, man. It's class. As a matter of fact, my buddy has a 2-inch tape machine he's trying to pawn off.
Awesome.
Which would be I would love to do that, but it's like one more piece of old vintage gear that I'll have to maintain. So
I grew up in electronics. My father had retail electronics stores since the late 50s. So I love the old stuff. You know.
Oh, that is so cool.
I saw the evolution of, you know, reel to reel, cassette, 8-track, everything.
Oh
Yeah.
So I love the old stuff. I'm old school too.
Oh, cool. Well, then you'll love this next record, because I mean, I always record stuff analog, but this will be recorded and mixed analog, this next one. So I'm super psyched.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Beau, what do you got going on besides having a great voice?
Thank you. Not much. I mean, as a contractor in Nashville, I'm busy. I've got some houses I'm building and some other things, so that's going great. But as music goes, you know, I've been working on some of my own stuff and stuff that me and Shane might combine together on Evership, or just I'll release or we'll release together, whatever that looks like. So I've toyed around with that. I'm starting to pick up guitars again. I used to be pretty proficient guitar player. I just like, Shane asked me, he goes, do you want to play? I was like, absolutely not. I want no creative control. I want to come in and be the dumb, pretty lead singer. That's all I wanted to do. Just let me be the
prima
guy
donna.
The prima donna.
I want to come in and sing and leave. And he was like, okay. And he's like, actually,
the
that
diva.
worked really good.
Diva, thank you. The diva, that's the word I was looking for, right? The diva.
So that's what I do, and it's super fun. And we get to, the most I do in pre-production is he calls me, he goes, hey, hum this line, is it too high? And at least he's doing that now, rather than we get to recording, he's like, you got to hit this high note. And I'm like, oh, cool, thanks for the pre-roll on this. Just like, you know, so I have to you know, pinch down low and really go for it most of the time. But
the guys on the job, do they know you're a diva?
Yes, they do.
They do.
Some of them play my albums. Some of them have worked for me.
Oh, good.
You know, it's been but they do know I'm a diva. I'm the boss there, and when I'm with Shane, I'm the boss too. So anyway, that works.
Are you? Here we go again. Are you primarily residential, or do you do commercial work too?
I've done commercial work before in the past, but right now we're pretty much 99% residential. So
well,
it's just
my past life. I was a mortgage lender and a commercial lender.
Yes.
I was a banker for like 15 years. So
Oh wow.
I work with a lot of you guys.
Yes. Yes. I've crossed paths
with bankers. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
another life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So a couple of the songs I just want to mention that I also like that are Evership favorites of mine: A Slow Descent into Reality of that tune, Silverlight, and Ultima. Is it Thule? Is that
Ultima Thule? Yeah,
Thule. Yeah. Well, that's a cool tune, man.
That's fun.
And where did you come up with that title?
Well, actually, that was going to be the name of the band.
It was. Really?
It was.
That's interesting.
And the song was called "Tale of the Evership."
Yeah.
And then what happened was when the album was done, I was talking to Beau. I was like, man, we got to think of a name for this band.
Right.
And so I was. I know I did. I went on the internet and I just looked up Ultima Thule to see if anybody had it, and there was this band in Scandinavia that had it, and they should, because Ultima Thule is in Scandinavia,
right.
Thule, the island of Thule, right, or the town of Thule in Iceland, Greenland. Sorry, and so of course there was a band up there called right. So I was like, crap, and I didn't want to, step on their. What they had going on. So I said, Beau, man, it's this band. I was going to call it up Ultima Thule. I thought, what do you think? He said, well, you know what? Why don't you, he said, that song, Tell the Evership, why don't we call the band Evership? And you make the song Ultima Thule. I was like, that makes a lot more sense, because that's what the song's about. So that's what happened. I
like Evership. It kind of it's a prog feel to it, number one.
Yeah.
For some reason, it reminds me of Yes, Starship Trooper or something like that.
There we go.
Yeah. So I do like it.
Had a nice.
Yeah, it does. It's simple.
Band,
It's simple.
Simple rock, classic rock band.
All right, guys. Here's your final question. I ask everybody this question. I get some very interesting answers. Okay.
No, great.
If you had a Field of Dreams wish like the movie to perform or collaborate with anyone from the past or present, who would that be? I mean, it could be a whole band. It could be a couple of guys, alive or dead. Doesn't matter.
Okay. It's a good one.
Don't say Paul McCartney, because that's like the number one answer, and I'm tired of hearing
that's
it.
A cheat. Okay,
that's a cheat.
I've got mine. I've got mine. I've got mine if you want to think about yours.
Go ahead, Beau. I'm still thinking. There's too many.
I would say Chris Cornell.
Yeah, that's a good one. I was a big fan of Chris Cornell.
Yeah. So Chris Cornell and Soundgarden. I wouldn't mind working with any of those guys. It's a crazy team. So
why don't you bring the guitar player from Soundgarden? Bring him in.
Kim Thale.
Yeah. He's not doing anything, is he?
That would be amazing.
That would definitely boost the band,
It would. It would be nice.
I'd reach out to him, see if he's interested. Yeah, can't hurt.
Yeah, when he passed away, I used to do a lot of Soundgarden covers, along with Zeppelin covers and stuff like that in other bands. And when he passed away, I actually had people call me and ask me if I was okay. It was the one person that kind of rocked me a little bit. I was like, oh no, I heard, and my wife actually called me and she goes, did you hear? And I'm like, yeah, I heard. And she goes, are you all right? And I'm like, yeah. I got to see him do his solo concert. I got to sit like middle, like 10 rows back at the Ryman, which is,
cool.
I got to see him there play. He just sat, it was just him and a guitar, and he just sat there and played a show, and it was fantastic. So, yeah, I would definitely choose him first, and then of course Robert Plant's still alive, but I would love to work with him too. But those are my two. I saw him on a flight. Me and my wife and my daughter, when she was a baby, we jumped on a flight from Miami to here, and he lives here, and we jumped on the flight, and he's sitting right there with his
Huh.
kids, and I kind of freaked out. And Melanie, my wife goes, "What is wrong with you?" And I said, I'm just like sitting there, kind of like almost shaking. And she goes, "What is wrong with you?" And I never geek out. I mean, we see people all the time in Nashville.
Right.
Yeah.
That, I mean, Billy Gibbons is in my neighborhood all the time because he hangs out with Tim Montana, who's a country star guy. And I see him driving down the street, and we wave all the time at him. But like with Robert Plant, it was like, for me, it was like I was like, that's a golden god, how can you not, and so I kind of got Jack Black on it, just wanted to bow before him. But anyway, it was funny. My wife's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "It's Robert Plant." And she's like, "Oh my God." She's like, "Now I know what's wrong." And and so we asked the stewardess, what's the status? Like, would he want anybody to approach him before we have to buckle our seatbelts or any of that? And she went up there and she's like, "Absolutely not. He does not want to be bothered." So anyway, when we got off the plane and we got down to luggage, he was there, and I went up to him and had him sign my boarding pass. So that was really cool.
Okay,
so,
that's cool.
Yeah, great guy. Really nice. And that was my geek out, my freak out. And it was hilarious because
you should have gone up to him and go, "I'm not worthy."
Exactly. Just start bowing. Here, take my wife. No.
Exactly. Some people do that, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't doubt it.
I know about that. You don't feel bad. I've had John Anderson on the show many times, and he freaked out with George Harrison. And I said, "You're the lead singer from Yes. Why are you freaking out over a Beatle?" He said, "Because he's a Beatle."
Right.
And I said, "Did you talk to him?" He says, "I couldn't talk. Nothing would come out." It happens to everybody, man.
Yeah. No doubt.
It's funny.
All right, Shane.
Thanks for the time to think
about it.
There was just so many people. I'm going to say Carrie Livgren.
Okay. Yeah. That's a great answer.
Because Carrie, I used to say I'm not influenced by anybody. It's not technically true. The technical truth is I'm influenced by everybody. It's just such a soup that comes in.
Right.
So many people from the 70s era, and even older than that. And with me, it goes way back to classical and stuff too, but it kind of all rushes in together and makes this soup that's Evership. But Carrie's compositional skills is something that I feel very much resonates with me. When I think about composing, the stuff that I've experienced through Carrie's stuff, it's just kind of, it works the same for me. I don't think what will Carrie do, but it's like I feel symbiotic with that. And then my second is Neil, of course, Neil Peart, because I'm a drummer and I'm also a writer. So I've always felt a connection to Neil. Never met the guy. Would have loved to have met him. I thought, I read a lot of his books, and of course I followed Rush all my life. So I felt like we would have got along just quite fine, being literary people. But I would have loved to have written with him as another lyricist. Like, I know I write the music and the lyrics, so it's a double thing. But it would have been cool to write lyrics with him, because I don't know if anybody has ever done that with him, but or at least pass some lyrics over. Hey, what do you think of these?
Yeah, exactly.
The master's take on it.
I tried to get an interview with Kerry for a long time. He's I don't think he's into it. He's
done.
Yeah.
I think he's had some real health issues going on right now.
Right. Very religious, very Christian. Of course, Kansas, all the lyrics are Christianity.
Yeah, a lot of them are Christian influence, particularly post
right.
Yeah, Elefante and prior to that stuff. But yeah, he's a great guy. We've rubbed. I'm like one person away from him, that sort of thing. I've never pushed it. I don't push things like that. I like to let things happen. But
sure, I'm the same way. Yeah.
But anyway, those my picks.
You guys are so lucky to be in Nashville, though, because you got some great players. There's a lot of influences out there. I know the Oak Ridge Boys, talking about country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So if you ever want to do prog country, maybe a new genre.
That probably, well, yeah, that has been done. It's called Allman Brothers.
Oh, okay.
They're about as close.
That's true. They're as close as
Are
you
the-
can get. Yeah.
Are the Oak Ridge boys on 30 Tigers?
I don't know.
That friend of mine, he helps run them. I think he manages them. But yeah, it's they're a great band.
I know Joe Bonzel.
Uh-huh.
He's a Philly guy. He's a really
Yeah.
nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real good guy. He's been on the show a couple of times. He
That's
wrote
awesome.
a couple of books, I think. Yeah.
Nice.
But they're still touring. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I know, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Well, I mean, and honestly, it's the only way you can make money in the business anymore, because you can't
Yeah.
make it selling music anymore. And that's really sad.
I know.
Yeah.
Really sad.
Well, why don't you guys start up 2 more bands?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So if we each ran in 3 or 4 bands, we'd
Yeah.
be-
Just do the Shane Atkinson project. I'll
There you
sing on
go.
that,
That's
and then you
one.
can do that, and then the Beau West project, and then
Project.
you can come play on mine. And then we'll
There
just
you go.
start. We'll start our own spin-offs.
That's
but
good. I
still
like
being-
that. I like all those projects,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I want to say very special thanks to Michelle Atkinson for setting this interview up with Shane and
Thank you,
Beau
Michelle.
today. You can purchase Evership's latest album, The Uncrowned King, Act 2. It's available at www.evership.com/store.html. I think it's on Amazon too, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
On Amazon, and also Uncrowned King Act 1. You can
Yes.
get it at the same place. You can go to your official website, www.evership.com. You guys are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Bandcamp, Spotify. And I did list all your albums out there.
Right.
Evership 2016, of course, 2, and Uncrowned King 1 and 2.
Correct.
Listed all those for you guys. Thanks for being on the show today, man. It's been a real pleasure. You are a great band. Love all your music, and just keep on doing what you're doing. I really look forward to the new album. It sounds exciting,
Yeah.
Thank you,
Ray.
Ray.
and
Thank
I
you
like
so
the
much.
idea of picking books.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, yeah. They're
Are you
rich.
gonna get a first edition of that of the new one?
Right. Hey, I should look at.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys. My
Yeah,
best
thank
to
you,
you and
Ray.
your family, and take care. And we'll keep in touch.
Appreciate
Okay.
it, man. Thanks
Thanks,
so
All
much.
right, man. We'll see you.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
We'll see you. Bye.
All right.